Hi, I'm Allison. This is my vlog 5 discussion. This week we were tasked to read chapter 4 in Rhetoric Acts and then a series of essays in the other book. So, in chapter 4, we learn about ways that evidence is a resource, and it mainly talked about pathos, logos, and ethos. And these are the three ways that authors use to kind of manipulate their evidence to kind of appeal to their audience. And for pathos, what pathos does, it appeals to the audience's emotions. So the wording can be would be to target a person's emotions and then kind of have them feel something so that they would feel enticed to think that the evidence is credible, or just to kind of drag them into continue reading the essay. Secondly, logos appeals in the logistical form. So logos is just a lot of statistics and hardcore facts, and with that it's pretty self-explanatory, because with hardcore facts and actual quotes, the paper itself just seems very credible and believable. Lastly, the last appeal would be the ethos appeal, and it would be to appeal to a person's perception. So perception could be kind of morals and kind of just seeing how it can warp their perception. There are other methods also, including using statistics in the evidence, or visuals, or analogies, or showing expertise/authority. And with all of these methods, it kind of ties into how to make evidence seem the most efficient. And a lot of authors typically use one of these methods, or they use multiple of these methods to make their paper more credible and just more enticing to the reader. So we also had to read 4 different articles. And the first article we read was by Kubi and his accompanied person. And it was mostly about TV addiction and how people are addicted to TV and how that kind of affects the person's mind. In this article particularly, he used a lot of pathos, and then kind of just made you rethink your own personal life and how TV affects your own personal life. And just how simple-minded people typically are, even though they don't realize it. Just the little things, like how a mouse can just get caught by cheese is very simple-minded, and every organism has a tail and can be super, super simple-minded. The second article was by Gay, and she used a lot of pathos, I would say. She talked a lot about girls, a lot about movies and how people perceive girls. And her evidence was pretty much personal insight, which goes back to kind of showing expertise and authority from chapter 4. And she had a lot of personal experience with perception of girls, so mainly her article focused on her own personal insight. Then there was Candor's article, which discussed kind of how dreams and nightmares, and he used a lot of ethos and pathos that I noticed throughout the text. And I thought his article was pretty interesting just because he tied in a lot of mystical creatures as his evidence, and that's just a really interesting take on making sure that your article sounds credible. I did enjoy how he did use the mystical creatures again, and also how he brought in the American dream, because that's a piece of evidence that most readers would probably understand and get. So making it appeal to the mass majority is a good way in grabbing the attention and making sure that your evidence is credible. Lastly, Auletta, they used a lot of logos, And that was something that I noticed, like, for straight off the bat. The first opening sentence was definitely just very stern and very strict on the facts, and throughout the whole article it was just a lot of dates given and a lot of factual evidence that was very solid. And so it was on Netflix's success throughout the years and how they kind of built their multi-million industry company and how they kind of got so many consumers to go on Netflix. And I thought this one was actually really interesting. And personally, I have read a podcast about how Netflix kind of grew themselves, and I do think it's a very interesting concept. But yes, Logos was primarily used in this article, and I thought that this article was the most credible, in my opinion. Thank you. That concludes my vlog.